All right.
All right.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. Do you really quickly
Yeah,
want to introduce yourself in your own words?
yeah, sure. So I'm Kat. I live in Philly. I have like a regular job during the day, and then
Mm.
on the side, I am a photographer. So I kind of lead a little bit of a double life.
Oh, like an agent of sorts?
Yeah, I'm actually just like a Russian spy,
I
pretty much.
mean,
But
that's when I first interacted with you. That's why I asked. I'm like, how do you know Russian? Um, no, that makes sense. No, it's fine. That's pretty cool. What's a normal job?
so I mean, I guess it's pretty. I don't know. It's very corporate. So I'm a
Mm,
pharmaceutical sales rep during the day. So
nice.
very corporate, very buttoned up. Like I don't show my tattoos,
Uh
anything
huh.
like that.
Uh huh.
Um, and then when I get home, I get to be myself.
Okay. Well, okay, cool. That's very interesting. I'm also kind of in sales as well, and I've thought about going into that world. That's a completely different beast. You really have to have like not a medical background, but like an understanding of how things impact the body, right?
Yeah, kind of. Honestly, I went to school for advertising. I wanted to write ads. That's what my degree is in.
Uh-huh.
But you really don't. They pretty much train you on everything. So as long
Mhm.
as you have sales experience and you're good with people,
Uh-huh.
you, I mean, usually can get in pretty easily. I mean, I did.
Okay.
I guess it also helped that I speak two languages.
Okay.
So being
Yeah.
bilingual, trilingual is a big.
That's something that I'm assuming you didn't quite fall in or wanted to do growing up. You just kind of fell into it.
Yeah, so I mean, I pretty much started working when I was
Uh-huh.
16 years old. So I
Yeah.
was in retail, I worked as a bartender, had a lot of sales experience from being in retail. I did
Oh.
inside sales, stuff like that. So
Oh, okay.
worked full time the entire time I was in college. And then when I got out of school, basically every entry level job that I could have gotten wanted 3 to 5 years experience, which I obviously didn't have.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of just went back to Old Faithful and just got into the sales world.
Mm.
I think I got kind of lucky. I went to one interview for a pharmaceutical position and I got the first one. The first interview I ever went on for a pharma job. So I
Nice.
definitely got lucky. But once you're in pharma, you're in. Like you have it on your resume, they're like, okay, you've
Mhm.
done this before, you're in.
Yeah, that's such an interesting gig. Which is cool. Kudos to you. You're crushing it, I'm sure, and it's good money. So way to go. And I'm sure it supports your photography, right? Or your hobbies, or these other things
Yeah,
that you
I
do.
like it. Yeah, so I like that I can obviously afford to buy all the equipment that I want to buy.
Mm,
If
hmm.
I ever have like an idea, I'm like, I need a pink backdrop, I just like run out and grab it. It's usually not a big deal. But I like not sitting in an office all day. I do enjoy the job, like even though it's super corporate, because I get to
Yeah.
talk to all kinds of people all
Hmm.
day. I'm not
Hmm.
sitting in an office at a computer. I stop for coffee when I want. And
Ah,
yeah,
it's kind of
you're on
free. Yeah, it's kind of
yeah,
free.
you're on the road, you're kinda
Hmm.
you don't really make your own schedule, but you kinda decide what you're doing throughout the day, so
That's
it's
pretty
definitely
awesome.
nice.
And okay, so as far as I mean, advertising, you get some training. I mean, advertising is really just storytelling, right? And when you're reaching out to your clients, you're telling them a story, relating to them. So you seem just naturally like that kind of person that you ask certain questions. You know how to interact and connect with people. Maybe I'm misreading you completely, but you seem like that kind of person.
Yeah.
With that said, I mean, is that something that you've always been like? Is that something that you grew up being like? And what's your background? I know you told me a little bit before, but can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I would definitely say I was always very curious, kinda
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned, so I like learning about people. I do a lot of polls for just random questions on my Instagram stories,
Uh-huh.
because I'm always just trying to get to know people and figure out what people like. Just like random questions. Sometimes it's like pick like chocolate or vanilla, or sometimes it's something a little more introspective, like I don't know, like, are you sentimental? Are you romantic? Just kind of like seeing where the percentages go because I'm
Yeah.
super sentimental. But yeah, I guess I've always just been pretty curious. I was an only child for about 14 years, so
Wow.
I always
Okay.
tried to keep myself pretty busy. So I guess I got curious and tried to make a lot of friends when I was
Hmm.
younger.
That makes sense. That's one way to do it, right? You're also transplant to the US, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so my family is from Ukraine. So
Hmm.
when we were over there, it was still the USSR. And then we
Oh.
moved to America in 91 when I
Hmm.
was 4, a very long time ago, obviously. Um, and I don't
20
have like
years
dual
ago. Yeah.
citizenship. Yeah, yeah, it was 20 years ago, sure. We'll go with that. Uh, but yeah, so I mean, I guess they like brought us over or brought me over here for, the normal things like the American dream and
Hmm.
whatever else.
Hmm.
Um, but I've never been back. They've never been back. It's
I
just one of
mean,
those things where,
yeah. I mean, if you defected from the
yeah, it's like
USSR, it
never a
was kind of
separation.
like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was not a lot of like good memories, I'm assuming. I mean, I'm sure there were like on a day-to-day basis, but like overall, if you're fleeing your country, it's probably for like my dad is the same way with Mexico, for example. He's just like, it's there and he'll go to a resort, but he's just like, I'm not gonna hang out in my old hood.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. My parents were like, "Well, we left. Why would we go back?" Like, I guess you're right. I don't know.
It's kind of like the old school style of old country thinking. I'm just like, I don't know, this is just the way things are. Why are you asking so many questions?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the older generation isn't as curious as us. They're just kind of like, "This is me. This is how I am. I don't know why, but this is how it is.
Came
Whatever."
to America and I worked hard and this is what I have. Why are you doubting it? And everything I did for you. I get it.
Oh my
uh
God. Yeah. Always.
oh yeah, you have a lot of that growing up.
Oh yeah. They're like, "This is all for you," and I'm like, "I didn't ask for this.
You're like, no
I'm just
pressure.
here taking it." But yeah, I'm like, "You can stop. Like that's fine."
I'm cool. Is that how were you like that as a teenager? Just like were you kind of rebellious, would you say?
No, I don't know. My parents weren't like the kind of parents that like didn't let me do anything. I think they were just kind of like, if you're gonna do it somewhere safe. Like they would have rather known that I was like doing it under their roof or like at a friend's house or whatever,
That checks
instead
out.
of just like running around like being bad. So I think because I
Hmm.
was allowed to do things, I wasn't.
Oh, so you were
I
like
didn't,
were you like a good kid?
yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I
I
got
mean,
some
I'm not,
grades
I'm not,
about
I'm not
that.
going to put you on
Yeah.
the spot. Yeah, you don't have to like incriminate yourself.
No, no, no.
And
I never really like I didn't even start drinking until like right before I graduated high school. Like I
I
know
mean,
everyone was
yeah,
like drinking and stuff and it was like I don't know, like a week before graduation. I was like, "Oh, I had my first beer." And then it's just like, "Okay, it's on."
it's
And then and then I got bad. And then it was bad for like
uh,
the college years. They're a little like murky for me, but
just browning out a
you know,
little bit in and
I
out.
made it through. Yeah, exactly.
I no, I mean, I completely relate to that. I makes me wonder how much of the immigrant or like first gen experience kind of contributes to a lot of that because you're kind of echoing a lot of my own story.
Mhm.
Definitely didn't start until right before college, and then once college started, it was a wild party. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a good time, but I don't know if I'd relive my 20s again, honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like me and my friends sometimes will be like, "How did we survive that?" Like
Oh
there
no,
was
yeah, I should be
like,
dead.
yeah, I'm like, "Oh God, I'm so lucky that I'm still even alive." Like there's even like I think there
Mhm.
was like one summer that I think we went out probably like 4 or 5 days a week, and I'm just like, go
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
drink, wake up
Uh-huh.
for work in the morning like nothing. And now I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I have like 2 drinks, and the next day I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm never getting out of bed."
Oh, geez. No, tell me about it. What is it about the age thing that just kind of cripples you? I swear, like I start getting a headache the first sip I take, honestly. And I have no idea what it is, but I remember very vividly being able to drink a lot more and being fine. I mean, not as hungover, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's, yeah, and I'm like, that was insane. Like that was severely unhealthy.
Yeah, I think that's why now we get sick, because like your body's like, all right, we already had enough of this in our 20s, so we're good. Like, calm down.
No, and I mean, my body's completely right. I shouldn't be doing that anymore. I am a responsible adult with a job, and trying to run a business and doing all this stuff. So it's completely fine. But yeah, I mean, college was a wild trip, and I had the similar situation. 5 days a week. And I don't know. I mean, I got let go from a job because I was working on a TV show and just doing a stand-in work. But it was interesting, and I showed up just late a couple of times, and those call times are pretty early sometimes, and they're not really forgiving. So.
I can't even imagine.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm sure like you showed up to your job back feeling extra crispy as well. I mean,
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple times where I was like, I probably shouldn't be driving because I'm pretty sure I'd still be drunk, but
or you're like,
that's in
what?
the past.
What? It's past like 12 hours ago, or no?
Yeah, it
That's too
was actually
funny.
last night. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's all time's relative. So, did you go to school? Did you grow up in Philly specifically?
Yeah, so my parents moved like right to Northeast Philly, which I
Mm.
don't know if you're familiar with Philly at all, but that's basically just like Little Russia.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so
So
like
the
you don't
good the
even
good
have,
food.
yeah, there's a lot of Russian food stores with a lot of weird food for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then yeah, pretty much they like moved to the suburbs when I was in middle school. And then after high school, I went to Temple, which is in the city.
Yeah.
So my parents lived like 20 minutes away from me. But
Okay.
yeah, pretty much
That's
been
nice.
in
So
Philly
always.
that whole time.
Did you ever get out?
I did live in Kansas City, Missouri for about a year and a half. Very
Mm.
random move. It was never supposed to be temporary. I went out there with a guy,
Okay. I mean,
his
that's we
brother.
all do. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like, why else would I move to Missouri? Obviously, it was for a dude. Like,
I mean, I was gonna move to St. Louis, Missouri, maybe a couple of years ago for somebody, and I'm like, I'm a good call. Didn't do it.
yeah, like it's Missouri. But it was cool. I will say it was like a very cool spot. Like, I'm still friends with a lot of the people that
Yeah.
I met when I was out there. It's
Hmm.
very clean, especially compared to Philly. It was very cheap to live there. It was
Hmm.
very cute
Hmm.
and hip, had a lot of vegan spots. It was cool. It just wasn't my forever home. And that
Yeah.
guy wasn't my forever guy. So I moved back to Philly.
Which is fine. I mean, relationships in general, they all end until one of them sticks, I guess, right?
I
Uh,
guess. I have yet to find that one, so I'll let you know. I'll get back to you on that one.
there's going to be a follow-up interview, folks.
Oh, great. I'm like, I'm
You know,
getting married.
yeah, the after show. I mean, like, yeah. So how's that? How'd it go? Give us all the advice, all the details. We need to bring it down to a science and be able to replicate it, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not this online dating stuff is just not. It's so weird, and especially
Oh,
now
so
with the lockdown. Have you been doing that? Have you been trying to do that?
yeah, so like right before we went into lockdown,
Uh-huh.
I came out of like a long relationship that was just like
Mm.
a hot mess.
Hmm.
Um, so I was
Hmm.
like, I'm back. Like I'm dating, I'm back in the game, I'm getting on the
Yeah,
apps, like I'm talking to people, like I'm
yeah.
living my life. And then it was like, just kidding, sit down, go home, no one leave, don't meet anyone, especially someone random, no more dating, good
Hmm.
luck. And I
Hmm.
was like, of course that would happen to me.
Of course. I
Um,
mean, you should take it personally. I think it was we all got together and said, how can we make your life worse?
for sure. They're like, "Oh, you're like doing so much better." No, no,
Or
no,
a wrench in
absolutely.
there. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's weird. I don't know. I guess it's weird for me because I'm extra paranoid about like everything that's happening, and
Mm,
I also I'm working from home, so I'm talking to doctors all day who are
right, right.
directly affected by this. So they're not
Hmm.
like, "This is great." Like they're telling me all the horror stories where they're
Hmm.
like, "Oh, this dude was in the hospital, and then as soon as he got out, his wife went in and she's on a ventilator." And I'm just like, I'm not going to the grocery store ever again. like let alone meet someone that
I
like
know.
might try to hug me or something. So I'm just like super paranoid.
So single forever then. Yeah, I was like, wow, that's dramatic,
I guess.
but
Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
fist
I have
bump
my
the next date.
plans. Yeah, I don't know. Like I have my plants, I have my dog, I'm happy. But it's weird, like some people are still trying to meet up. They're like, "Hey, what's up?" And then like 5 sentences in are like, "When are we meeting?" And
Like, you want to do this?
I'm like, "Sir, I haven't even decided if I want to meet you yet. Like even if coronavirus wasn't happening and you're already like, "Where are we meeting?" I'm like, "That's against the law, first of all."
Isn't that like, isn't it exciting though? Like he's edgy.
Yeah, he's edgy, but also how many other people did he come in contact with? Like, if
Uh,
I have to at some point trace all my roots, how many other people did he hang out with that I have to like trace back? I mean,
it's a
this is
whole
me
other
speaking,
kind of like STI sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, except just like coronavirus.
Right, which is much more, yeah, actually you get somebody sneezes on you and you get it. So it's even, yeah, I get it. I get it. I know it's a weird kind of comparison I drew there. I get it. Thanks
Yeah.
for calling
I
attention to
mean, I feel like I'm coming off like super paranoid. Like I'm very chill. Like I would maybe meet up with a person that I felt like was definitely like
it.
quarantining for a certain
Mm-hmm.
amount of time and
Yeah.
maybe like I was like, "Oh, I might have some interest in this." But like, 5 sentences in, I don't even know like what your full name is at that point sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, all I have is my perspective, right? And my perspective is more just like, if I don't like make a move sooner than later, there's the chance that they're gonna get bored. And then it's just
That's
like, and then I'm just like, well, I mean, not to like negate what you're saying, but like that's just like, maybe that's how he's thinking or how I think. I'm just like, I gotta throw it out there. I'm like, all right, so what are you into? Like what some quick questions? Is this going anywhere? Cool. you know Not, but also for guys, it's like we get like no matches, and then the matches that we do get, y'all never respond, so it's cool, no biggie.
Oh no.
Hey, don't, no, no, don't feel bad, don't feel bad. I'm good, I'm fine.
I'm
It's
so sorry that people aren't answering.
no, oh, it's not your fault. I mean, I mean,
Weird time because people are like, should I
yeah.
even get into this? And then like you start talking to someone and then you're like, okay, well, I can't meet up with them. This kind of sucks. And then what? You just FaceTime to death? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's gone. I've had a couple the upside is that the conversations have actually, there's been more conversations coming out of the whole situation because people were bored and
Yeah.
lonely. So the conversations do kind of go further and there's more people responding. But then you do have in the back of your mind the thought like, are they just like bored and lonely in the second like that we're loose in the world? Is am I going to be even on their radar anymore? So I mean, I don't think it's a very good time anyway to be doing this stuff. You never know. I mean, if you have the connection, cool, and if not, whatever. I'm finding it difficult, and maybe you say you're sentimental. Like, at least I did at first, like sitting with your feelings and being like, and then like, oh shoot, like I have to sit and like actually process my traumas.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like a weird thing. Like you said, like it's cool
Hmm.
that there's a lot of conversation coming out of it. Cause even like when I first started doing it, I kind of went into it and I was like, all right, well, we're taking the physical out of it. That's kind
Hmm.
of cool where
Yeah.
we can actually connect and
Hmm.
decide if we even want to hang out.
Sure.
Which is like why these people that are like 5 sentences in are like, let's hang out. I'm like, I don't know if it's even worth it. But at
Hmm.
the same time, I guess you're right. It does get a little boring to just like constantly be FaceTiming because it's one thing to have a connection and then you might meet that person and be like, oh, like I'm just not into it physically.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, you can, right off the bat. I mean, obviously you can always get to know somebody and like them, but
Yeah.
off the bat, like you're just like, okay, cool, like I can see this, right? And then you move forward. I mean, I don't know about you. Sometimes you're just like, yeah, they have, my friend calls it the X factor. You'll see
Okay.
them and you're just like, who are you? Have you had that experience in the past where you just see somebody from across a room and you're just like, I'm going to be talking to you?
Yeah, I've definitely had those times, but I feel like I'm trying to kind of
Mm,
go away from those
yeah,
because every time I actually acted upon that, it was not definitely like not a good person where it was just like, I'm just physically attracted to you and
yeah, yeah.
but you're not a good person. So I don't know. I guess it's kind of hard through FaceTime to figure that out for me.
No, yeah, I know, I absolutely agree. I think a body language, seeing them interact with other people, I think is really important. So like meeting somebody at a actual party, I think has always been like you get to see them like interact with different people. You get to talk to them. You get to see them like loosey goosey, but also you get to figure out who they are.
Yeah.
A little bit more, which is I feel like it's always a good way to kind of go about it. But yeah, I mean, how am I going to do that today with with a face
Yeah.
mask? It's just not going to happen. So but yeah, the whole X factor thing, I mean, I think it's something that it's that connection. I like meeting people. I mean, honestly, relationships, I don't think I've ever had a long-term relationship that with somebody I've met online.
Oh,
I mean, I've gone on dates and stuff like that, but it typically comes from like actual physical kind of like body language and like meetups and stuff like that. And
right.
maybe that's just me. I don't know. So like, do you going back to the sentimental thing, because I think that kind of goes into the idea of like being an artist and storyteller.
Mhm.
I myself find myself being that way and very curious and wanting to know how people arrive to where they are, what parts of their life kind of culminated to make them who they've become and part of their art. And your photography, I mean, I think that's how I came across your profile, was one of your self portraits with the one that you had of yourself with the tears.
Oh yeah.
And that's a very good one. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. But how much of you comes, you've been doing mostly self portraits, I'm assuming recently because of the state of the world, but
Yeah.
um how much of your life and what parts aspects of it come across in the photography for you?
I think photography is such an emotional and creative outlet for me
Okay.
that like in every photo I take, like there's something about it that is like something that I've internalized and I'm trying to express,
Hmm.
or like a story that I'm trying to tell in a way, because I do have like this super corporate job and like I'm just going to like office to office to office and
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
basically saying the same exact thing, like all the approved messages or whatever. So it's kind of nice to have that as like a hobby and something on the side that is like an actual emotional outlet where I can create something that is that story that you're mentioning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, it's we all, if we don't ball, I mean, if especially if you're and again, I keep touching on it, but I don't want to overuse that word, but like if you do have a lot of that stuff going on inside of you, or turmoil or whatever it is, yeah, it will come out the wrong way at the wrong people, right? Typically people that you're the closest to and around the most. So it's important to have it out, get out somehow. um why How did you stumble, or why did you choose photography amongst um all the mediums that there are? And also, you don't just take the photos. I mean, you do a lot of the costume, you do the makeup, obviously. You do these elaborate kind of setups, which are beautiful, and you do a really great job. So how did you land on this, I guess?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
I appreciate that a lot. So basically, I started taking photos. I took a photography class in high school where we
Mhm.
had the dark room. It was all film. It was awesome. And then after I graduated, obviously, I went to school for advertising. And some of my friends did go to like an art institute or photography school.
Mhm.
And I always kind of felt weird, even like taking photos or like acting like I was the photographer. I guess it's like um, that imposter syndrome that everyone talks
Mm.
about
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
Because I was like, well, they have like my best friend, like she went to school for photography. She has a degree, like she knows like all the rules of photography. And I'm just like here, like with the camera, just taking random photos. And then like the iPhone came out and just like taking pictures. Like, who do I think I am? Like, I'm not a photographer.
Hmm.
So I just kind of like pushed that to the side, but I was always a writer. Obviously, like I went to school for like writing ads, but I was always writing poetry and like short stories, even as a kid.
Mhm.
So that was always my outlet. But I guess that's a little bit harder to convey through like social media or anything like that. Like, I guess I would have had to put out a book or or just like text my
Yeah.
friends and be like, hey, I wrote this poem.
Just texting
You know,
long form poems to your friends
yeah.
randomly.
They're like, okay, cool. Like, are you okay?
Like a weirdo.
Yeah, exactly. So, I actually started dating this guy a couple years ago, and he's a film photographer. And we would always go out, and he would kind of let me use his camera
Mhm.
and to take photos. And then, like, I was also taking pictures on my iPhone, and he was like, you're really good at this. Like, you should get a camera. So I was like, oh, you think? Okay. Like, just being like, all right, whatever. So I ended up getting my first camera and then shooting my first portrait maybe like 2 weeks later. And that was about 3 years ago. So
Mhm.
I've only been doing this for a very short amount of time, as like portrait wise.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so in terms of making all this stuff, I guess it's just one of those things. Like, I've always been crafty. Like, I always did arts and crafts and stuff like that when I was a kid. And it's
Yeah.
just kind of like, I guess I could buy like a backdrop off of like, Amazon or whatever it is, or I could use these random streamers that I have laying here, cut them apart and glue them onto the backdrop. And then we have a whole different thing. So I guess my main thing is with photography is I love being able to just kind of like think up something and then make it happen through a photo
Mhm.
where I'm creating something that wouldn't have existed had
Yeah.
I not thought of it, had I not made it, and had I not captured it. Like,
Yeah.
my art, like no one's gonna find like, I don't know if you can see like the photo behind me, but like a girl with a big hat and red pants standing against a wall and just like walk by and be like street photography. Like, obviously, like you had to like think that up. So I
Uh-huh.
really love the idea of like just you just like have this idea and then like just make it happen.
I mean, that's your style of photography, right? If everyone kind of has their their theme or whatever project they're kind of diving into and run with it. And it seems like portraits in general seem to be your thing, right?
Hmm.
Is it that kind of desire to connect with people that you feel that brings you to specifically do that kind of photography?
Yeah, I definitely love doing portraits because I feel like even when I do the shoots, I always end up kind of just like hanging out with the models. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way where you're like, I like figuring out why people are the way they are. So
Mm-hmm.
somehow, some way, like I always end up getting in a deep conversation with people. So a lot of the people that I've shot with, I've actually just become friends with them because I've connected with them so much. And like we all keep in
Mm-hmm.
touch. And, when we can all hang out again, that's going to be great. But yeah, for sure. I love connecting with people. My friend Sarah and I actually a couple years ago formed a creative collective where we actually like brought together models and photographers, like makeup
Mm-hmm.
artists, stylists, and we would have meetups. So she's still kind of doing it. I like kind of phased out of it and I'm just like doing my own thing now. But it was awesome. I met so many people that way, just like coming from all over. Like, I guess we had people from New Jersey and New York and
Mm-hmm.
Maryland. So just like coming together for the meetups and everyone like staying in an Airbnb and just creating. It was awesome.
No, that sounds amazing. I think that a big part of I mean, this in itself is the same thing. It's that you end up becoming. I mean, I'll take a step back. I think a lot of what I realized in this kind of quarantine state is that how much I was drained by small talk.
Hmm.
Honestly, I mean, how and in the same kind of at least industry that we both work in, or at least field to an extent, you do have a lot of those micro interactions that I feel are very, yeah, they are very superficial and left me feeling super drained. But people were surprised that I would say that I was an introvert because I would have these long form conversations, but they're different because you are connecting with somebody, and I almost feel recharged from that, right? And having those connections, and because I have these longer conversations. I mean, we're sitting across, I mean, virtually across from each other here, and you tend to realize I'm just like, oh wow, like I'm really getting to know this person in a really quick manner, in a way that nobody really does these days.
Hmm.
Because it's all jumps to text, it all does this and that, and you ask like the quick interview questions, which I mean, this tends to be an interview, but again, it's a lot of the time free flow. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think I relate to you in that sense, a long-winded way of me saying that. because I end up making friends with a lot of people, and you get to meet really cool people from different walks of life, and your network expands, and then they connect you with other people. And it's so fun to be surrounded by like these really intelligent, very creative individuals who just keep, not forcing you, but like really like motivating you to step up your game, right? Because
Mhm.
the imposter syndrome kicks in, and I'm just like, dude, if I'm talking to this person, I need to step it up and be able to kind of produce at this level, right? I mean, do you feel a similar situation going on with you?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like, I
Hmm.
think that social media in a way is just like it's the devil, but it's also the best thing ever. Like, there's so many people that I have been interacting with on Instagram for years. I've never met them in person,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
if
yeah.
they send me a message, I'm definitely going to answer, and like vice versa. And like some of these people, like I I will say, like, they've become my good friends. Like,
Cool.
they know personal things about me that a lot of
Hmm.
people don't know. And
Hmm.
you just, like you said, like you end up connecting, um, because they do, like, they are creative. They are motivating you. They're like, oh, you're upset today. Well, like tomorrow's a new day. Like, I know you're going to do an awesome shoot.
Hmm.
So, it's awesome to find people that are in the same realm. And it's also great because you can kind of tell too, like, some people will act like 24/7, everything's great, everything's amazing, but then like you find like your people where you're like, yeah, I don't want to take photos every single day. Like, I just shot this set and it was awful and I never want to look at my camera again. And then, like, just being like
Yeah.
authentic and being like, yeah, we all have those days where we're just like in a creative rut, we're not going to force it. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, blah, blah, blah was having a bad day the other day. And then they just posted this amazing set. Like, I
Hmm.
can do that.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And you can, I mean, there's no time like the present. I think the virtual component and has really allowed me to reach out to people as well. I mean, including yourself, you're all the way in Philly, and to be able to expand that network and be able to interview and develop my podcast even further, right? But also because I have so much going on, and again, going back to the sitting in the feelings,
Mhm.
I'm just like, I need to get this out somehow. So like nothing better than just to like, this is my medium, right? Conversations. I got the gift of gab, so I'm going to use it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. So I mean, what you came out with something kind of cool today, which that was like that's.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, I didn't
You're
even post
like,
anything. Oh, yeah, I did.
yeah, you did. No, you did. I mean, so what? I mean, you can touch on that as well. But like, what other sort of little things do you got going on, or in the pipeline?
In the works. I so I started so when I was in high school, I was in the AV club and we would like shoot stuff and then we
Mhm.
used what do we use? We used Final Cut Pro,
Yeah.
like way back when. I don't know if like people are still using it. I don't know
No,
because I'm like so not like I don't know anything about video.
yeah, they're still
Um,
using it. It's still a pretty big deal.
okay,
Yeah.
cool, awesome. But yeah, so I'm working on my first short video. Like, I
Mm.
have everything written out. So it's going to be, where usually like I post a photo and then underneath it, like the caption, like sometimes will be my poetry or like an explanation of what the photo means or what it is to me.
Mhm.
But this will be like a little snippet where it's like, okay, here's the video, like all the visual aspects, but then
Mhm.
here's also like something that I wrote that I'll be actually talking over the video with like music in the background. So I'm excited
Mm.
about that.
Mhm.
Um, I filmed a little bit of it, but I think it's going to be a little bit longer of a process than the self portraits. The self portraits usually take a couple hours. Uh,
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a pre-production and post-production that comes into hand. I mean, obviously with photos as well. Do you use like Photoshop, or you try to do all on camera?
um, so I see like a lot of my photos are like super edited, I would say, I guess, because I like to like pick out like specific colors.
Mhm.
But I feel like all my shoots are kind of different, where it's not like you don't like go to my page and it's just like, a very like curated all one like filter feed or whatever.
Mhm.
Which,
Mhm.
if that's what people are doing, that's great. That's your thing. That's awesome. I'm not decisive enough to just like pick one thing and stick with it forever. I'm like, these photos need to be pink, and then these photos need to be red, and then these need to be green. So I definitely do a lot in Lightroom, but
Okay.
I'll take it in, like if I'm doing something for like a brand or something, I'll take it into Photoshop just to like edit the skin. If they need, there's like close-up shots or whatever it
I
is.
mean,
But
it's
I
not
try,
natural. What?
no, that's not a thing anymore, I
Oh,
guess. Well, I
yeah,
mean, it's coming back to be like, I don't like over edit. Like,
yeah,
I don't even think I like have the skills for that. But I like to keep it looking as natural as possible, where I'll just kind of
yeah.
like brush a little bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, I definitely use Lightroom. Um, yeah, I don't. Do you ask me something else? I'm sorry, I'm like blanking.
Yeah, no, I kind of took us on a different path there, but I was, what other stuff you have kind of like in the works, right? You have, so you're doing the
Okay.
video and then,
Yeah, I mean, there's always like the ideas for the self portraits. I have a whole list of things that I'm gonna shoot. Um, Other than that, I did come out with the Instagram filters today,
what?
which I'm even surprised I was even like able to do them. I
Yeah, I
remember like
mean, yeah, how do you do that, by the way?
it's actually really annoying to do them. But like once I'm like figure something out and I'm like, okay, like I was making them, and then I was like, I'll just do two. And then like by the end of the day I had six and I was like, guess I'm releasing six. And then I made another one today. So I
Nice.
was like, I'm just gonna guess just keep busting them out, whatever. If people like them, they like them. If they don't, whatever, like I'll use them. It's cool, whatever. But I watched like a bunch of YouTube tutorials and I just
Oh,
followed along and it worked. And I was like, all right, I'm in. Let's do
you were
it.
just like, this is my next, I really want to make one of these filters for myself. Is that what it was?
I guess. I mean, I'm always like looking for them because I like using them, but I feel like
Mm.
I'll save them and then I'll go to use them. And some of them are, they're so weird. Like they're so like oversaturated. Or like I put it on my face and I'm like orange. And I'm like, where are the ones that are just like a cool like color that are like simple that just kind of,
This
like
compliments, right?
just compliment you like a little bit and aren't like so wild. I'm like definitely not advanced. Like I want to do like a sparkly one. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. But I like got it in my head that one day that I was gonna do it, and then I did it. I released them today. So if you want to use one, go ahead,
Yeah. No,
tag
yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think it's I think it's important to have the eye that you have, like a photographer's eye doing this, because you know how skin looks in different lighting, and lighting's everything, right?
Mhm.
So no, perfect. Yeah, I mean, I'll use them, sure.
Thanks.
And then yeah, no, I'll share them. Yeah, 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 absolutely. But yeah, I mean, so do you make money on doing this? I mean, you sell portraits, right?
Yeah, I have like a print shop, but I mean, I don't think I've sold that much from it. Honestly, for me, I don't really make money off of it, and I'm fine not doing so. I just like it as a creative outlet. Like I have fun doing it. I have
Mhm.
shop for like a couple like local brands doing their stuff, and usually it's kind of like a trade type thing. Like my friend makes jewelry, so I've been doing all her shoots and they're like
Mhm.
super fun.
Yeah.
Um but I've done like a couple paid jobs, but it's not like my main thing where I'm like going out of my way to like try to make money off of it. I feel like
Okay.
it's like one of those things where sometimes you have this like creative outlet and then you start doing it for work and you're like, okay, well now
Mm,
I'm just like creating all day something that I don't necessarily want to create, and then you get home and you don't want to even create for yourself.
yeah, no, when your hobby becomes your job, it's no longer your hobby, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I like having kind of like a split of the two things.
Okay, no, and then that's completely fair. I totally get it. You just keep doing what you love. I mean, again, like you have a great eye. I'm excited to see what else you have coming up in what you have in the works. And do you want to take the like opportunity to guide people anywhere to any sites, anything like that, anything you're promoting? I do have your sites up, so I can share my screen because I do place this on YouTube.
Okay,
But
cool.
here, I'll share my screen so people can see what I am looking at. No, that's not it.
That's my website, so check out my website.
Yeah, so this is it, right? So you got some pretty cool stuff on here.
Yeah, I mean, it
Um,
has everything. So if you want to go to my Instagram, if you want to buy a print,
mhm. So
there.
you got your, yeah, you got your print shop here, which is really great. Again, this is where I saw most of your stuff, which is really, really, really awesome. Again, photography. And
Thank
I was
you.
looking at it, and again, mostly portraits. I did like the one that you had over like a lake, I think. It was
Okay.
really neat. So I may be getting that one, just
Okay. Cool.
FYI. But yeah, no, I think I'm always looking to support artists and photographers, and I love what you do again. And this is, I mean, can people follow you? It's not a big deal. I mean, you're kind of a big deal. Look at
Oh
13
my gosh,
followers.
that's not a big deal at all.
I mean, you're not like, yeah, you're not like any Kardashian,
No, I'm definitely
but
not Kardashian status.
like, yeah, you're a sentimental soul, curious human. I dig it.
There I am.
There
Yeah, check
you are.
me out
And
on Instagram. I always answer DMs.
mhm,
So if you ever have any like photography questions or anything
yeah,
else, I'm happy to help.
and keep it appropriate, folks. I mean, there's
Well,
some
yeah,
people
not
out
like
there.
weird. Don't like send me weird stuff because that I will not answer. But I'm always happy to share any tips and tricks, location,
Yeah,
whatever else.
that's really awesome. Any recommendations for? I mean, Philly's a city that it's been on my radar for a long time, but I've just never had the opportunity to go there. Any tips, tricks, and places to go?
Oh man, that's always so tough. Like, because when you live somewhere, you're just like,
Yeah,
well, I know
yeah.
like what I like. Well, I would say definitely check out. Like, I guess like Fishtown is like the up and coming area now. That's I'm
Uh-huh.
like in the Fishtown, Kensington area.
Yeah.
But there's an awesome restaurant. It's called Front Street Cafe. Love that place. They have like awesome buffalo cauliflower wings.
Ooh, are you
Those are
vegan?
really good. I'm pescatarian.
Dope. Okay.
So, but they have like regular people food too. So it's really good. There's also Loco Pez. It's a really good Mexican spot, but you guys probably have like way better Mexican than we do up here.
I mean, it's arbitrary. It's such a subjective thing. It's all good. I had to come around. I was kind of a snob for it about it for a long time. I'm like, you know what? They're trying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those places are pretty cool. Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna stop record here. So if you guys are listening, thank you for listening. Make sure to visit websites and follow her on Instagram. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Bye.